When you try to teach everything, your client ends up learning nothing properly. People don't buy courses for information. They buy them for a specific transformation. So before you sit down and start mapping out modules or filming lessons, I want you to get crystal clear on the following framework that I'm going to teach you. Hello and welcome back to another episode on the Beauty Industry Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Sammy Kennedy. Today's episode is for the person who is wanting to step away from being on the tools all the time and start looking at stepping into education, coaching, creating a course, an event, whatever it is, because they don't just want to be a service provider in the industry. They want to step into industry leadership. So this is for the innovators, the change makers, and people who are driven by making industry-wide impact. Now, if you're wanting to get into educating, coaching, or creating a course, the worst mistake that you can make is trying to teach everything that you possibly know. And I'm going to expand on this later in the episode and walk you through the process of how you actually develop a valuable offer that will help you stand out, solve a problem that people are actually willing to pay for, and allow you to actually make meaningful change and impact in the industry, not just be another copycat. Now, when people usually think, okay, I'm going to teach everything that I can possibly know and put it into a course, the problem is they think their value of their offer comes from how much information that they can fit inside it. So there's more modules, more lessons, more guides, templates, frameworks, things to download, more hours of content. But what the people creating these things don't generally realize is that the most valuable offers in the market are not always the ones with the most information. They are the ones with the clearest outcome. And over the last 2 years, I've been working with business owners who want to step outside of the treatment room and start sharing their knowledge. And this is the pattern I see over and over again. Someone will say to me, Sammy, I want to create a course. And then I ask, okay, well, what's inside it? They start listing out every single thing that they could possibly know about the industry. So if it's teaching a service, they go into every single thing that they could possibly imagine. I'm like, well, everyone else is teaching this. Like, what are you doing that's different? Or they go, okay, I'm going to teach this whole service, but then I'm going to teach marketing, pricing, mindset, client retention, social media, hiring, retail, operations. And they always say something like, this is the course that I wish I had when I started my business. And they try to squeeze their entire career's experience into one kind of program. And because all the information that they're providing in that offer is so valuable, they don't want to charge cheap for it. Obviously, because that's your time, your experience, your knowledge, your expertise. But then at the same time, having one offer that you're launching that is, 5 to 10 grand is not actually going to necessarily convert as well because people don't even trust you yet. You have no social proof other than your own results. They haven't seen the long-term impact or the ROI on other people's experience of working with you. And so while the intention is good, the problem is this. When you try to teach everything, your client ends up learning nothing properly. People don't buy courses for information. They buy them for a specific transformation. So before you sit down and start mapping out modules or filming lessons, I want you to get crystal clear on the following framework that I'm going to teach you. Because if you get this right, your offer becomes easier to sell, easier to deliver, and far more valuable. You know how we speak about marketing and I talk about creating that client conversion pathway through your marketing? It's the same kind of principle with your offers. So I want you to run your idea through what I call the clear offer framework because it's not going to be built all around information. This is going to give you the clarity on who it's for, clarity on the problem, and clarity on the result. So when we look at the CLEAR framework, it stands for 5 things. C stands for client. L stands for level of problem. E stands for end transformation. A stands for activation method. and R stands for return on investment. So within the last 3 months, which is what really prompted me to start this episode, to be honest, I've had someone come to me wanting to launch a brow and lash lift course, someone wanting to do a lash extension course, and then someone who wanted to do a 12-month business mentoring program. And the most common issue that is popping up over and over again is the focus is always on what am I actually selling? And so they're selling modules, they're selling units, they're selling lessons, they're selling guides. And while all that stuff may be really valuable and within the resources that you've created, you know that you're going to help someone learn something or achieve a specific outcome. For the person who has no idea what you're actually selling, they don't even care. They don't even know why that is valuable in the first place. And so just listing out a whole bunch of features and then trying to add more and more and more so it looks like it's a value stacked offer, sometimes it can actually shoot you in the foot because you're listing out more and more things, but people are actually unclear about what you're actually offering them in terms of how is it going to help them? What are they going to achieve? Like, why should they invest their money in you? So with the clear framework, we're going to walk through each of the letters and then how you can actually apply it when you're developing your offers. So the C stands for client. The very first thing you need to get clear on is who this offer is actually for. Most people will skip this step and start with what they want to teach. So you don't want to just start with all the content and brain dumping all your value and knowledge that you have to share. I want you to actually start with a specific person in mind. So questions that I ask myself at this stage is, who specifically is this designed for? What stage of business or experience are they at right now? Now, if it's your clients and you're applying this to a service, you might go like, where are they at in their journey of using this product or not having this treatment or achieving an outcome? Like, this framework is not just for courses. It can definitely be used for services and products as general, but just apply it in a way that makes sense for your business, okay? So what stage are they at? What do they already know? And what do they still need to learn? Now, this is huge because some people, they might have a little bit of an understanding of what's not working or they've tried things in the past, but obviously they're still not getting the results. So what is holding them back from that? What frustrations are they currently experiencing? More importantly, something that can really help is getting clear on who is this not for. Now, when I look at who is this for versus who it's not for, there's going to be ideal traits of the person that you want to attract, but then you're also going to know who exactly this is not for. So when I thought about my own business coaching and consulting, it's for people who are wanting to improve their business by facing things that they've been avoiding, whether it's numbers, whether it's marketing, whether it's hiring. Like, we go through that together. It is not for the type of person who decides, I want all the success. I want a multi-million-dollar business, but I'm going to put no effort in. I'm going to blame everyone else and I want it to happen overnight. So if you're not clear on who it's for, sometimes you actually might want to start with, well, who do you definitely not want? Which will then in turn help you get clear on what you do want. Now, if you try to be the person that serves beginners, intermediates, and advanced people all in one offer, you will create something that feels very confusing and watered down. So clarity of the client will always equal clarity of the offer. And I don't want to get into it too much because it is kind of a whole podcast episode within itself. But when you develop your offers, you want to think about it like a client journey. And so you've got one offer as your entry level point. And then once they achieve the outcome from that stage, they'll have a new problem that comes up for them. And so you develop another offer. And then once you help them get to the next level, you then will move them into the next level of your offers. So you create this entire ecosystem. So there's not generally just one offer. You'll usually start with one offer to begin with, but as you grow and progress, you want to keep your clients growing and progressing with you. So this is how you create your client ecosystem. So there'll be different levels of offers for different people at different stages, not having one offer that just serves absolutely everyone. I'll give you an example of this. Like, if I did business coaching for someone who's in the startup phase versus someone who's doing 3 million plus, they're very different levels, very different problems, very different types of people. And so I'm not going to attract either of them because trying to say that I can help both of them, like, they're like, well, how much can you really help me? Because it's not specific enough. So this leads me into my next letter, which is L, standing for level of the problem. So you've got to get clear on what is the level of the problem that you're solving, because not all problems actually sit at the same stage. Some people will be trying to start something. Some people are trying to fix something that's broken. And some people are trying to optimize and scale what already works. So ask yourself, what specific problem is your client experiencing right now? How is this problem currently costing them time, money, or opportunities? What have they already tried that hasn't worked? And what is the root cause of the issue? The more clearly that you can define the problem, the easier it becomes to position your offer as the solution. So we've got our ideal client, we know who this is for, and now we're getting clear on, okay, well, what level are they at in their journey? The next letter is E, which is end transformation. Now, this is undoubtedly the most important part, because people won't just buy your education, your knowledge, your courses, your trainings, whatever it is. They actually want to buy a result. So what you need to do is define the transformation clearly. So the questions that I'm asking at this stage are, what does success look like for your client after working with you? What measurable change should they expect? What does their life or their business look like on the other side? And how much faster or easier is your process compared to figuring it out all alone? Now, your offer should move someone from point A to point B in the simplest possible way, not give them 10 different directions to run in. So when I've been doing all of my offers across the last 3.5, almost 4 years of coaching, something that became very apparent to me was the more specific I got on the one problem that I was solving, the higher the conversion rate. So an example of this is when I first started out, I had this 12-week program, and it was mainly targeted towards sole traders, and it was teaching them how to get fully booked. But then within that, I was like, oh my gosh, they'll get fully booked, but I want to teach them how to set up their business, but I also need to tell them how to optimize their booking system. And there were so many different things that I was trying to teach them that it actually sent them into overwhelm, and no one watched more than 3 modules. And it was, in my eyes, I thought it was the best thing. I had a marketing section and everything I knew about marketing. I had a finances section and everything I knew about finance. I had all the bits and pieces that I was like, this will create a great business. But for that person at that stage in their business, I was sending them into complete overwhelm. And the problem is I got so caught up in the moment wanting to provide as much value as possible, and I didn't want to underdeliver, and I wanted to make sure that I was giving them their money's worth, which I probably did tenfold, but it didn't actually help them or support them. Now, what came from that is I started a different approach, which then moved me into Fully Booked Formula. And that was a training that I ran probably 3 years ago, multiple times, and it worked really well. It was teaching people how to actually get fully booked. And so that was the transformation. That was the outcome. And that was all I sold. Now, through that, I taught them how to optimize their profile, how to actually do all their marketing and lead generation, and then how to rebook clients. And so instead of trying to teach the 5 different things within that course, I just spoke into the outcome of becoming fully booked, which is what they ultimately wanted. So that was that phase. And then later on realizing in my journey, okay, well, everyone's fully booked now. Like, I can't help them anymore. What's the next problem they're coming with? And there were people saying, hey, Sammy, I'm fully booked, but I have no money, which is, it's insane, right? You think you'd be fully booked and you would have all this money, but they were not profitable. And so that's when I started developing the profitable pricing calculator. And that was an awesome piece of IP that has made so much industry-wide impact. To date, over 350 people have used this in their business, and it does cover different things. It covers how to actually project out your staff wages accurately, including all the things like long service leave, sick pay that most people forget about, and they only focus on that base hourly rate multiplied by how many hours they're working plus super. So that was one part. Then it went through your operational costs. It went through your cost down to the 10-minute for break even, but then you reverse engineer it based on your revenue goal. And then it worked out, where is all your money going percentage wise? What's overspending? What's underspending? what's good. And then we moved into the actual profitable pricing part, which is knowing the break-even cost for each service based on the amount of time it took, plus the target charge out rate that you should to reach your be charging out at to reach your financial goal, the dollar amount of profit, the percentage amount of profit, how much money goes to tax, and then what you're left with cash-wise. And so that was a very, very specific problem that I was solving. Businesses that were fully booked, but they weren't making any money. And then as time's gone on in the industry, I've started to progress and realize that it's coming to hiring, it's coming to leading a team. And that's not where my passion lies at this stage, which is why I was like, okay, well, what have I done really well? And it was converting my knowledge and my skills from everything that I've done to build an online business. And so now being able to teach other people in the industry, outside of the industry, how do you actually build a personal brand and monetize your knowledge? That has completely shifted the direction of, okay, well, the transformation for them now is to get off the tools and step into education. So it's not always all the value and the modules and the guides and the templates and the cheat sheets that you create that are going to be the thing you sell. It's actually, who are they now? Where are they currently at in their journey? And where are you taking them? What does that transformation look like? Because that's what they're buying. They're not buying all the features. They're not buying all the modules. They are buying the result, transformation, or outcome that you can get them. So this is where we come into letter A, which is activation method. Now, once you know the problem and you know the transformation that you're offering them, you then need to decide how you are going to deliver the solution. So this is where most people start, but it actually should come later. So everyone thinks, okay, that build out the whole course, but no, you need to do the market research first. You need to know who you're selling to, what level they're at, what they actually want to achieve, because then you ask yourself, okay, what is the most effective format to deliver this transformation? Do they actually require education? Is there a level of Is there a level of implementation that needs to be done, accountability, or feedback? Now, would this work best as a course where it's self-paced, a group program, one-on-one mentorship, or a service? Then you can go into, okay, what tools, templates, or frameworks would actually make the implementation easier for the client? And what would help someone actually finish the process? So your format should always be chosen based on what helps the client get the result, not what's easiest to create. A really good example of this is when I was building out my courses in the early days, I also didn't realize that people don't want to watch, 40 to 60 minute videos. And so I guess this was before TikTok as well. Well, TikTok did exist, but before everyone's brains and attention span was fried from TikTok. People used to watch masterclasses, and that was great. And I thought, well, I'd just create a masterclass on all the things that I knew. So like a marketing masterclass on like ideal client, a masterclass on this, a masterclass on that. People don't want to watch that and they don't want to sit through it. So what did I do instead? I started in Bookbanked and In Demand, creating short 5 to 10 minute videos that went through, it was visual. I'm even at a stage now where I actually would love to look at creating a training, but it's actually in the form of a podcast, because I know a lot of my listeners, they're busy, they're listening in the car. And so for someone who doesn't have the time to sit on their laptop and watch a course, like how could I get that information to them through their ears and then have notes or a workbook or something that can go hand in hand with supporting with that? So like, if that's something that you want, send me a message, because I want to know, is this a good idea or not? Now, this is just based on me understanding my ideal client and my audience. Yours might be completely different. Now, when I look at guides or ebooks or information, like unless there's a workbook component where you're actually implementing the information, people don't want to see it and read anymore. They want to watch videos. We are visual people, especially in the beauty industry. They are hands-on. So being able to understand what is the format that's actually going to serve them the best in learning and implementing. Like I've always been the type of person who creates workbooks alongside my video trainings because I know people need to actually write information down and process it. If you just get them to watch a video, like what are they actually actioning to make that information sink into their mind? Now, there might be a level of accountability that you need to provide because they might not hold themselves accountable, or they might get excited, they'll do the hype, they'll start, and then they just won't continue on. So where are you doing check-ins? Where are you creating those touch points? Like, get super intentional about understanding that whole client's journey, how they grow, where they'll slip up, where they want to quit, and how do you inject a resource, a touch point, a value add that it will help them continue on in their journey and move them closer towards getting an actual result. Now, the last letter of the CLEAR framework is R, which stands for return on investment. People always ask themselves one question before buying. They want to know, is this going to be worth it? So you need to clearly communicate the return on investment for them. So when I brainstorm this out, I'm usually asking like, what happens if they don't solve this problem? What opportunities become available when they do? What is the financial, time, or lifestyle ROI of this transformation for them? What proof do I have that this process actually works? And what guarantee or support could I offer that removes that hesitation? So if you truly believe in your offer and the transformation that you can actually achieve for clients, having a guarantee in there will definitely help with your uptake in sales and your conversions. And the reason why I say this is if you don't believe in the results that you can get for people, if they action and implement the exact thing that you've done, then I would be questioning how good your information is that you're selling. Like, you need to be so certain and confident that the only way that they can fail is if they just don't do it at all. Now, within guarantees, you can always have disclaimers around what is required for them to implement to actually, I guess, make that guarantee valid. You don't want to have someone who comes in and you say 100% refund if they're not happy with it or they don't get the result, but then they don't even watch the modules and they just want their money back. Like, you've obviously got to be intentional and strategic with it, but having that guarantee there, that will help with your risk reversal. When the return feels very obvious for the client, the investment becomes an easy decision. So this is where, you go into this whole thing about, well, okay, why am I offering this? How is it different from other things on the market? And why should they invest in this now? Your offer that you're teaching, that you're sharing, that you're selling, it needs to actually get them a result. And that result needs to be worth it for them. It needs to be valuable. Now, it's not always going to be monetary. Maybe for them, like, think about mindset coaching. For some people, it's stopping the self-sabotage. It's being able to get their life together or have a routine again. It might be finally feeling confident and having that self-trust. If it is leadership, it might be around how to not reactively blow up at your team, how to stop all your team members leaving and going and starting their own businesses. It might be how to implement processes. It might be how to implement systems and processes so you can go away on holiday and your whole business doesn't fall apart. For marketing, it might be teaching someone how to actually build a standout brand that doesn't get lost in the sea of competition of everyone doing the exact same thing. It might be how to actually get their clients who are coming in once or twice, but they're completely falling off the bandwagon after the second or third appointment. Like, how do you actually improve that? How do you actually improve that? Is it a client retention system? Is it a marketing strategy? Is it doing outreach manually? Like, there are so many things that you can teach and help other people with. So just to recap on today's episode, what we have learned. If you are looking at bringing in a course or training into your business, I want you to get really clear on these 5 things. Your client, the level of problem that they have, the end transformation that you have to offer, the activation method, and the return on investment. Without these 5 things mapped out, don't bother building your course out because you need to understand who this is for, how it's actually helping them, and how you're going to deliver it. And trust me, I didn't do this in the start and I really regret it. I spent, $5,000 building a course that I didn't end up having much success with and had to rebuild completely because I didn't have this framework. So if you remember nothing else from this episode, remember this one thing. The goal of an offer is not to show people how much you know. It's to create the clearest possible pathway to a result that they actually want. So before you go and build a 10-module course packed with all the information that you could possibly know, run it through the CLEAR framework. Because when your offer is clear, your marketing will become clear. And when your marketing is clear, your sales become so much easier. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I hope it's provided you with value. If you are looking at stepping into the education space, you want to start your own training, in-person events, online course, or anything like that, send me a DM on Instagram at Sammy Kennedy Coach. This is something that I'm currently supporting a lot of my clients with on a one-on-one basis. It's not a cookie cutter approach. It is completely personalized to your business, your lifestyle that you want to build, and how we're actually going to help you step into that industry leader position and sell to people in a way that will genuinely impact their lives for the better. I look forward to catching you in the next episode. Have an amazing week. Bye now.
Audience exclusive.